Take a deep breath, not just to quiet the mind, but to fill the body. Let the breath touch your chest, your belly, your hips. Let your awareness descend like roots dropping into sacred ground. This is where we meet today, in the body, in the earth, in the blessed now. There is wisdom in stillness, and also wisdom in sensation. The garden is not only a place of soul, it is also a place of form. We return here to remember that embodiment is a spiritual act. This voice comes not from theory, but from the lived experience of listening to the body's language. And what it has taught is this: your body is not an obstacle to spirit. It is an expression of it. In this episode, we are going to discuss the physical world and the body. The physical world is sacred ground. It is not separate from the spiritual realm. It is where spirit shows up. In trees, in rivers, in hands that hold, and in bodies that breathe. See, your body is the piece of the physical world that you've been entrusted with. It is your vessel, your instrument, and your place of presence. We've been taught to shame it, control it, ignore it, and even escape it. But divine did not give you a body to transcend it. The body is the altar, the ground where sacred meets soil. In a bonus episode, we talked about the three worlds and the egg and how they relate. So now I would like for you to imagine an egg. Its shell is the physical world. It's hard, defined, and protective. It gives shape. It holds everything together, and it keeps what is fragile inside safe enough to grow. The shell is not the whole of the egg, but without it, there could be no life within. In the same way, your body is the sacred shell that carries you. It is not an obstacle to spirit. It is the vessel through which spirit breathes. When you honor the shell, you make space for the mystery inside to flourish. When you mistake the shell for the whole, you forget the greater depth within. The shell teaches us boundaries, structure, protection, and presence. It reminds us that the physical world is not something to escape, but something to bless. The body as a temple. See, we need to understand this. Your breath is a prayer. Your heartbeat, a rhythm of devotion. Your bones, sacred architecture. Your skin, the boundary where you begin and end and merge again. The body feels. It stores memory. It communicates through sensation, hunger, stillness, fatigue, and pleasure. When you ignore it, you become disembodied. When you listen to it, you return to wholeness. Now, how do we honor the physical world? In honoring the physical world, to care for your body is to care for divine within you. Eat slowly, walk barefoot, stretch, sleep when you're tired, laugh. Let your senses awaken. Let your presence deepen. Everything sacred is also physical. The candle, the meal, the hug, the silence, the singing. Spirit becomes real through ritual, and ritual is made of matter. Several months after my encounter with Jesus, something began to awaken. I was already singing and dancing more freely. I was painting, sketching, drawing, writing poems during service. But there was this one moment that stands out. I began visiting this new church because I had outgrown the church where I was a member. Now, during the worship service, I danced. I stomped to the rhythm of the drums, but something else began to happen. In the physical, I was on the ground, moving to the beat, but in the spirit, I was leaping from drum to drum. There were these giant drums just glowing and stretching upward like a ladder. Spirit was there just smiling and laughing. It was as if we were playing tag on the drums. Just this wonderful childlike game. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't striving, I wasn't trying to enter in. It just happened because my body was free, my spirit was too. It was like movement had become a prayer. I was in a conversation with divine, and it was amazing. That particular moment helped me to remember other moments like that from childhood. I remember in kindergarten, I used to always get in trouble for being distracted during class. And I remember I used to daydream or imagine that I was in church, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why I couldn't do this. It was a time where I was free. And I think I used to imagine I was in church because the classroom was set up just like the classic church with the center aisle and the pews, the rows of pews just along on either side of that center aisle. And the classroom had a center aisle with rows of desks on either side of that center aisle. And at church, the pastor stood in his pulpit, which was lined up directly with that center aisle. And for some reason, I think maybe my teacher would stand at the chalkboard right where the pulpit would be. And so I used to always imagine that I was at church instead of at school listening to my teacher. I remember as a child, I used to love bedtime because what I would do is I would go, get ready for bed. And once I got into bed, I would pull the covers over my head. Once I pulled those covers over my head, in the physical, I would be laying down, resting, drifting off to sleep. But in the spirit, I would be off in Neverland with Tinkerbell and Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, and we would be on our adventures fighting Captain Hook. Or I was in Sherwood Forest with Robin Hood and his merry men, and we would be stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. And it was just a time where I was free. It would help me, I think it would help me to release the energy of the day, to release what I no longer needed to hold on to. There was another time where I was dancing and I entered into the spirit world without even trying. This time I was in my kitchen and I had gotten into a routine of where I would listen to music and just dance as I cleaned the house. So as I was cleaning the kitchen, I was dancing and I was just in the moment, not even thinking, just dancing. And while I was physically in the kitchen alone dancing, in the spirit, my mother was there dancing with me, and so were my two daughters. And it was just three generations dancing together. It was my daughters, their mom, and their grandmother. And so for me, that showed me that We can not only communicate with divine, but in communicating with divine, we can connect to those who we love. This moment was special because my biological mother and I don't have the closest of relationships. And it was her dancing with me and my daughters. And that was special to me because it showed maybe a glimpse of the future where we have that special relationship, that close relationship where mother and daughter and granddaughters are just dancing together, having a special moment. This is something I didn't have with my biological mom growing up. Now, my stepmother and I have that special bond where we connect as mother and daughter. And so, in this moment, it showed that even though I don't have that special bond with my biological mom, there is still time to create that special bond. And even if we are miles away from each other physically, we can be together spiritually at any given moment. These moments and memories helped me to realize that song and dance and imagination and art and all that creative energy is a sacred language. The body is each of ours unique and individual way of expressing love. When words fail, the body speaks. I'm going to say it again. When words fail, the body speaks. And we've been taught to stop listening to our bodies. We've been taught to suppress our feelings, to ignore those subtle messages from our body. When we're full, we don't stop eating, we continue to eat. We force our children to eat everything on their plate, even though they may not be hungry anymore. That is also training them to ignore the messages of their body. And so the subtle whispers from our bodies then become loud roars. And what I mean by that, for example, in illnesses or sicknesses or disease, which is dis-ease of the body, these are messages that we have ignored for so long that they're now shouting. And it's our bodies trying to help us or send us those messages letting us know that something is just not right, or that we need to release energy somewhere, or that we need to let go. Recently, for example, I had began doing Reiki, practicing Reiki on myself. And this was about maybe 3 years ago. I was in the shower, and that's where I would do the Reiki. As I was cleaning my physical body, I would also clean my energetic body. I was in the shower practicing, and I began to have the worst panic attack ever. I mean, I was for sure that I was going to drop dead from a stroke or a heart attack. And it came on so sudden, and I began to calm myself down and I began to breathe. And then I just felt like I needed to remove toxins from my blood. And so during that Reiki, while I was showering, I imagined myself pulling out whatever toxins in my blood. I was just pulling them out as I lathered myself up. And as I rinsed off, I let that water just hit me and roll down. And as it hit me and rolled down, I imagined whatever didn't need to be in my blood was leaving my blood. Well, a couple of days later, I went in for my follow up to my annual exam, and my doctor was going over my lab work with me. She came in the room and she expressed to me that I had high cholesterol, the highest of all of her patients. She made sure to tell me that before she recommended that I start on high cholesterol medication. So I left my doctor's appointment that day and I continued doing the Reiki, but I also decided to look and see what high cholesterol meant spiritually. What was my body trying to tell me spiritually? What energy was I holding on to that I maybe needed to let go of? And when I searched the internet, I was in tears with the results. It was spot on to what I was feeling at the time, what I was dealing with my family and friends. And I felt like whatever page I was reading, like that was written just for me. And so once I began to deal with those things, when I went back in for that 6 month follow up to check my cholesterol was normal. And had it not been for me listening to my body and beginning that energy work, I don't know that I would have survived that. Long story short, I did not have to go on high cholesterol medication. Another example of the body trying to communicate with us and send us these subtle messages occurred. I was in a car accident, one of many recently, and I hurt my hand. So I went in to have it examined, and I was told that I had early onset arthritis that was brought on by the car accident. And I noticed it was in my right hand. So, in dealing with this arthritis, I noticed that the pain was similar to a pain that I had had several years ago in my left hand. And the pain in my left hand never quite went away. I actually had two surgeries on that hand and ended up with nerve damage. And so now, in dealing with this pain in my right hand, being that I'm a bit more spiritual than I was when I had the surgery on my left hand, I looked into it to see what could my body be trying to tell me. And the message there, what that pain means symbolically for me, the thumb is used to grip. And so it the message from spirit is that I'm gripping too hard or too tight to what I should be letting go of. So I have to release. It's not a full release, but maybe just loosen that grip on the things that I'm holding on to that I should no longer be holding on to so that I can make room for new things. These are examples of the body no longer whispering to us. Some, if the pain is minor, you get an ache here and there. It might be a subtle whisper, hey, I'm here. Look at this. Hey, this might need to be let go of. Hey, you might need to move in this direction. Spirit talks to us through our bodies. Our bodies talk to us, and we have that connection with spirit through our bodies. And when we listen, that is a sacred and spiritual ritual. So this shows us that when we honor our body through movement, when we get outside in nature and become one with nature and just let our bodies be free, then our spirits will be free. The shell that protects us, the shell that provides a boundary and structure, does not have to be something that we ignore. It doesn't have to be something that we fight against. It is supposed to be that vessel in this physical world where we can experience and remember love. This week, as you find different ways for your body to be free so that your spirit can be free, meditate on these journal prompts. When I pause and breathe, what sensations in my body do I often ignore? How can I honor the shell without losing sight of the spirit within? How does my body store memory, and what might it be asking me to listen to right now? Where do I feel the freedom to express myself physically, and where do I feel restrained? What one shift could I make this week to live with my body, not against it? Here's a simple return practice that I invite you to do until we meet again. Wherever you are, stand or sit tall. Breathe into your body. Feel where it is tense. Feel where it is soft. Place your hands somewhere that need warmth. Whisper, "This body is not mine to punish. It is mine to love. This is my sacred vessel. I am home here." Take this garden reminder. The garden is not just a metaphor. It is this life, this breath, this body, this moment. The divine walks in the garden with you, not just in your spirit, but in your limbs, in your pulse, and in your presence. To be embodied is not a distraction, it is a devotion. As you walk in the world today, may you walk with your body, not against it. May you feel the sacred in your muscles, your breath, your senses. May you tend to yourself like fertile soil. May you speak to your body with love. And may you remember, your body is not the opposite of holy. It is how holiness is made visible.